acknowledgement. On August the 25th, 2025, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been the site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. The land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and the water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contributions in making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. And we will call this meeting to order at 5:02, and we have two councillors that are absent this evening, Councillor Miller and Councillor Brennan. And before we move on with our meeting, I would like just to take a moment to send congratulations from Council and the Town of Smith Falls to Brooke and Brittany Henderson winning the CPKC Women's Open. It was wonderful, and we're so very, very proud of you both. They won it in 2018 and now for the second time in 2025. What an accomplishment, and they're right from here in Smith Falls, and we're very proud, and we want to congratulate them both. Now, the approval of the agenda. Councillor Robinson, all in favor? Thank you. That the August 25th Committee of Whole agenda be approved as circulated. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest and general nature thereof? No. We have no approval of minutes. We do have a delegation this evening. Mr. Ryan Salter. Ryan, hi. Would you like to come to the podium, please? And as a delegation, you have 10 minutes to talk to us, ask us your questions, and see what we can do to help.
All right. So I'm Ryan, and this is Melissa. We own Salter's Water Supply. We are a bulk water supplier for Eastern Alliance around the area here. We're trying to figure out, so you guys currently charge $10.13 per cubic meter of water if you buy it in bulk from your treatment plant. My question is why is it so expensive? Everywhere else around here, Perth is $4.14. Carleton Place is $3.13. City of Ottawa is $2.63. So I'm wondering why your water is 2 to 3 times more expensive for the same water I could buy in Perth, Carleton Place. So I also went online as well. Kingston, I believe, if my numbers are right, was like $3.70. Stouffville was $3.83, I believe the number was. Anyway, it was all within that $3.50 to $4 range. Perth being the exception there, a little bit more expensive. But I just wonder why you guys are $10.13 per cubic meter. So a cubic meter is 1,000 liters. Like it's 3 times more money. And I do a lot of pools around here. Like that's what my business is filling swimming pools. So I'd like to be able to buy it in town. You know, save trucking it from Perth to here, or from Carleton Place to here, or from here to wherever I got to go with it, right? You guys are missing out on quite a bit of money. Now, I don't know why. That's my question for you guys. I was told to come to council with the question, so.
We're from Merrickville, so we are, local. So, explain to them how much you haul at a time. Like,
so I haul 32,000 liters or 32 cubic meters. So in Perth, it's $130. Carleton Place is $105. Like if I was to buy that here, it would be $320 for a load of water. And then I've got to put the trucking on top of it because I can't truck it for nothing. So I'm just trying to figure out why your water is so expensive.
Councillor McKenna.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Great question. My question to you is, have you reached out to the staff at the water plant and asked them why?
I have, and they directed me back to council. because you guys set the rate. So,
Might be a breakdown in communication there because they're pretty good at explaining why the fees are.
well, they've asked me to come here and ask you guys. I talked to Councillor Brennan about a month ago at the Old Homecoming Week, and I talked to that gentleman there as well. I can't remember, what's your name again, sorry?
Andrew McDonald.
That's it, Mr. McNaughton. He said to come to council. So I'm here today to find out what would be the reason. Like, I mean, there's no waste on it. I understand if you sell water and you got to recoup and process the waste, then it's at house, right? It's in and it's out. It's part of it. But I'm buying it at your plant. I don't have any piping. I don't have any, I literally hook up to your treatment plant and fill my truck with water. So I'm just trying to get a rough idea as to why it's so expensive.
And with Carlton Place in Perth, Perth is the treatment plant, and then Carlton Place, they have a flow point meter. So we can do that 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Like, I mean, we're not asking for 24 hours
Yeah.
a day, but like right now, you guys are 7 to 3. Your employee has to,
Be there while we
be
do
there
it.
to load the truck,
Like, it seems like there's a lot more red tape just to get a load of water here than there is anywhere else. City of Ottawa, I just tag a hydrant. They've got designated hydrants. You go in, you tag the hydrant with your valve, you load the truck. When you're done,
at the end of the day, you have to report it to them,
you reward them.
you know?
That's
Mayor Panko.
Yeah, so I don't know, we set a rate every year based on, we have a rate study which determined our water rates many years ago, and
sorry. Say that again.
we did a rate study
Yep.
many years ago indicating what we should be charging for water every year, and that should be increasing every year based on the cost of treating water and distributing water and treating wastewater, right?
Right.
And we have different rates for water and wastewater when it comes to a residential, commercial water bill. Now, what your comment, the last comment may have helped identify, because I honestly don't know what would contribute to ours being different, other than if we have to have a staff member there while you're filling, there's staff time involved.
But that's what I'm asking is why.
Is that?
Nobody else does.
Well, no, because I assume we haven't made an investment in the infrastructure that would be needed for self-serve. I'm just guessing. I don't know what staff, maybe
So,
shine some light
so
on this
in the
one.
city of Ottawa, what they do, their program is any dead end hydrant. So it's the last hydrant on a main, and they'll send you to these hydrants all around the city. There's a map of them, and what you're doing is you're flushing that hydrant for them, so they don't have to go out and do hydrant flushing to keep that dead end section of that hydrant moving.
Okay, so I don't know how much bulk water we sell in a year. That's, you would use it. I don't know, have we other
Well, I don't
businesses we
know.
have that are,
There's
that
another
if I-
competitor here in
if I
town.
finish- if I can finish,
Yep.
I don't know how many users we have that would be hooking up to a system and getting bulk water. But I think what you have identified here is what may be an opportunity for us to take a deeper look at this. So I don't think we have an answer for you tonight.
Okay.
I think we can take a look into it and say, is this something that we have not been encouraging, we have not really been doing, we've been accommodating, and we try to do it at full cost recovery? I don't know, I'm just guessing. But if there's demand for it, it may make sense that the town investigate the possibility of having a self-serve station where we don't need staff there between, and you can be there more than 7 to 3. And then, so there's an opportunity here maybe. I don't think we've been a big supplier of bulk water.
Yeah.
Maybe it's partially the cost, but there's more, staff would understand this more than, I think, than we would when it comes to how many bulk water customers we have, how frequently it's being used. And is there a business model here that says we should be creating a system for a self-serve system that we can have some cost recovery and make sure people have water when they need it?
And I'll just jump in here for a second, because I've been around here for a long time, so I remember years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that we had some issues with people being able to go and get water and no staff around, and we had problems with things not being shut off properly and that kind of stuff. So that's one of the reasons likely why there has to be a staff person there. But you're asking good questions. I can't answer them either.
Yep.
But I wonder, Andrew, do you have anything to put into this, or?
Oh yeah, no, I can add some context to the conversation. So,
Andrew, could you go to the podium, please?
Yeah, sure.
It's on the public record.
so when the planning for the new water treatment plant was ongoing in 2007 and being built in 2008 to 2010, It was a plan to have a bulk water fill station included in that bill, but unfortunately, due to the cost of what it came out at, it was one of the items that had to be left on the drawing room table. So we've got that now encompassed with our new water tower that'll be coming online. As part of that project is a bulk water fill station. So we are simply just waiting for the final work to be completed on that. It's tentatively going to be done November. And then once we have some chance to sit down with the engineers and look at how that system works and start building the database, I think it'll be an easy transition to move some of the clients over from the plant to it. One of the things I'll say is that we are open 7 to 3:30 Monday to Friday. We are not open on stat holidays, so it does limit how we can do it. And one of the things about the bulk fill station is it is contained within our fenced-in area of the treatment plant, right? So security is important. So having somebody in and out through the nighttime hours might be a challenge, but with this new tower and the way it's going to be set up, it should be much easier for a lot of the bulk fillers and everything else moving forward.
But why does it need to be 20? Like, why can't you get it anywhere else, anywhere I look, any municipality that I researched tonight was 24 hours.
Yep. So the plan is that the drinking water, like at the water tower, bulk fill station will be open
24 hours.
24/7.
Okay.
Yep, that is our goal.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's it.
So unfortunately, it's just a bit of waiting, but we are on that direction, and that is our goal.
And are you looking at
A rate for it?
adjusting the rate?
Like
based
I
on-
say, I can have input when it comes to rates. One of the things that we do have in Smiths Falls is a state-of-the-art Class 4 drinking water treatment plant. Those aren't cheap. When it was built, that was $26.5 million bill that was split 3 ways, federally, provincially,
Yep.
through the municipality. It is our goal to be fiscally responsible, with the money that we generate and the revenue that we generate through water billing. But again, as Sean has alluded, that could be something once we have a bulk fill station in place. We know how it's going to operate and we're happy with the way things are moving. We could get a little deeper into that conversation about that.
Your rate though, your water rate, does that include the sewer as well? Or do you guys have a separate rate for sewer? So you have your $10 a meter for cubic meter for water. And then on your water bill, is there a separate rate for that's my kind of, you know what I'm getting at?
Yep, and actually, I was going to raise that. Our sewer surcharge
Yep.
is equal to our water, basically.
Okay.
So 50% and 50%. So what may be happening is we don't know whether that water is going into the sewer or not.
Right.
And if you're delivering in Smiths Falls, people who empty their swimming pools put it in the sewer. They run it right out to the street and away it goes. So that may be why it's so expensive. You're not just paying for the water, you're also paying for the sewer surcharge.
I mean, I've seen a lot of it done and a lot of it goes in the grass, to be honest with you.
Not in my neighborhood.
Well,
It
But I
almost,
mean,
it almost
if you
down.
think about it from the aspect of we're hauling it from Perth or Carlton Place, right?
Mhm.
If they're going to empty their pool, but we now just gave another local municipality the revenue, and you're going to have to pay for the
No, I'm-
disposal. Like you see what I'm saying?
I'm not here to argue.
Yeah.
No, neither are we.
And you've got,
Neither are we.
you've got a valid question, but I think what we'll end up doing is probably deferring it to staff to come back to us
Yep.
with an answer.
Like I said,
Because we don't actually deal with that. We make our decisions based on the information available to us. So
I just wonder why your cost per cubic meter is, like I said, 3 times more than every other municipality. Like,
Yeah, and we can't judge why others charge what they charge. I know Carlton Place is going to have to spend $145 million for new treatment facilities.
Yep.
I suspect their water rates are going to be going up significantly to cover that cost. I think they got $35 million in grants. They got right at this stage, they got $110 million to cover through water rates in the future. I don't know about Perth. I know it's an age facility. Our facility we're still paying for.
Yep.
And we will be paying for a while. So that might be a factor. But overall, in addition to what we're charging for water, we are using about $1 million from tax revenue to subsidize the water rates. So you're not paying taxes here, but you're paying for water here. But for our residents, they're paying taxes to support the water rates as well.
Right.
So it's we're not in a situation where we're trying to make a bunch of money on water, but we're trying to recover costs. And even with water rates the way they are now, we're not recovering costs. We still need extra money from the taxes to do that. But I think Andrew's brought up a good point. We're going to have a filling station at the water tower later this year, and then we'll be setting next year's bulk water rate come budget time, so probably early next year. And this will probably be a consideration of the time. And Andrew will probably have a report for us, helping us understand how much bulk water we're selling. We've got a system to pay for, and a recommendation as to what we should be charging next year.
I mean, I probably, so just if you want information, I probably did 35 or 40 pools just in like Golf Club Road area, that kind of stretch down, you know, around town here. I did a bunch, like I've done a bunch around here, and that seems to be kind of the average is 30 to 40 pools, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little more, but just so you guys have an idea too.
Yeah, so we don't know how many people are using our buying bulk water.
But I mean, it's also too, like for me, it's the transportation of it, right? If I'm coming home and I got a pool to do tomorrow, well, I'll pick my water up wherever I can get it the closest to the pool, instead of going back to Perth or Carleton Place and then coming back to, you know, Athens or like it.
Understandable.
So that's where I'm at anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you coming with your concerns,
Yes.
and staff will look into this.
Yep.
And then we can give you an answer.
All right.
Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Okay. Directors' reports. Director McMunn?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, we have one this evening from Director McMunn, but before he does that, I just want to acknowledge tonight our Deputy Clerk is filling in for our clerk, Nadine Bennett. So you'll notice an unfamiliar face where the clerk usually sits. Incidentally, although Nadine's now our Human Resource Advisor, she still holds the Deputy Clerk title. So that's why she's here this evening.
And isn't it nice to have her here? Yes, lovely.
Thank you. Good turnaround.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of council. The update I have this evening is with respect to Confederation Bridge. So more so for the folks at home watching this evening, because I know council's all privy and aware that the bridge project has commenced. So the folks at home, the bridge was removed on August 15th. So it took approximately the whole day. We removed it in two sections. We essentially cut the bridge in half at the center pier and removed one side, set it on the east approach, and the other one over on the west side on Old Mill Road. GIM was a subcontractor to Structurecraft. They facilitated the removal. There was a 150-ton crane set up on site for any people that were able to attend the site. It was quite a show, if you will, to watch it be removed and fly up over the trees and be set on land. So very, very interesting. So that went off without a hitch, as was expected. So the bridge is now out. We've now shifted gears to excavation in behind the existing canal wall for the footings and the abutments for the bridges. So that work commenced last week, the week of August 15th. That work is still in progress. We got a little bit more investigative work we need to do on site. We ran into a couple of higher rock elevations than we suspected would be there, but nonetheless, we're working through that. It has caused a bit of a minor delay, I'd say maybe about half a week or so with the pouring of the concrete for the footings and abutments, but generally speaking, the whole project is still on schedule to wrap up late October, early November. I'd like to say too that the glue lam, which would be the main, the wood elements that form the arches from one side to the other, is slated to start rolling into site in and around the week of the 2nd of September, so right after Labor Day. So glue lam's manufactured. It'll make its way from Alberta, from the glue lam manufacturer, all the way across country to Little Old Smith Falls here, and as will much of the other components of the bridge. And they'll start manufacturing, dry fitting, if you will, the bridge on land on Old Mill Road. And then when it comes time to actually place the bridge on the new footings and abutments, there'll be a 500-ton crane set up on the west side of the bridge. So over on Confederation Drive, Old Mill, they'll pick the whole bridge up in its entirety, fly it over the trees, and they'll set it on on the footings abutments. So that'll be a day that I would suggest that all of council may want to show up for that. It'll be quite a show. Took a tremendous amount of pictures there for the bridge removal. We'll do so when we actually set the bridge on the abutments. We commissioned a local photographer here to do some drone work as well. So we've got a whole pile of really good video footage and photographs as well. So with that, happy to take any questions if there are any about the bridge project.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. More of a comment than anything else. I can hardly wait to see this 500-ton crane because that 150-ton crane looked pretty big to me. That's going to be just huge. So I'm looking forward to that.
Any other comments, questions? Just to thank you, and it was really wonderful of you to let council know as things were progressing, because I did stop by to see what's going on, and I thought this is fantastic. And then you came with some pictures for us. That's wonderful. We really appreciate that. Sorry.
Just last question. I assume we know a 500-ton crane can travel down Federation Drive or Old Mill to look after this?
Yeah, it'll come in down Old Mill. So we'll have to open up the fencing from Stephanie's project at the water treatment plant, the old farmer water treatment plant, to allow it to get through. So yeah, I mean, Structurecraft in and of themselves, they're familiar with the site. They've already looked at all those logistics, and yeah, that'll be quite a thing. It'll be 3 times as large as a crane that was there set up to remove the bridge. So it'll take up quite a bit of real estate, but the bridge will be, rather than removing 2 pieces of cutting the bridge in half, removing it in 2 pieces, this will be the bridge its entirety from one side of the bridge to the other. So it'll be really interesting to see it up and over the trees and placed on the footings.
So you'll be giving us a heads up as to.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay. So no committee of whole reports. Moving right on into priority issues. Award of contract for water meter replacement program. And this is with Member McNaughton, please.
Good evening, council. Good evening, chair. Happy to be in front of you guys again. Beautiful day out there today. So I'm here to look to see that get council's consent to award a bylaw for the contract 25 PW 012 for the water meter replacement program, and award the contract to Neptune Technology Group. During our capital budget forecasting, one of the conversations that we had was a water meter replacement program. So with the program being such a large undertaking, we looked at the financial toll that it would take on the budget, and we looked at splitting that over the course of 2 years, 2025 and finishing in 2026. So what I'm here looking for is for pre-budget approval for the 2026 amount, as well as awarding the contract to Neptune. They were our only submission for the program, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there's any.
Councilor McGuire.
I was surprised there was only one submission. Is that surprising, or is there only kind of one company that does
Well,
this?
yeah, so Neptune is the manufacturer of their own equipment, so they don't have to purchase it from a third-party company. It's something that they've managed. They did a program in Gananoque when Paul was there. Paul's got some familiarity with the program. With the way that we've already replaced approximately about 1/3, one of the requirements of this would to be fit into the system that we already got. When we do our meter reads, we use devices that are supplied by Neptune, and those devices themselves carry a cost. We looked at, just one of those costs of what a meter reader would be, and a meter reader itself is around $20,000 to purchase new. So taking into consideration, if we were to have a partial part of our system be Neptune and the other part of our system potentially be something else, it would create inefficiencies, increase in costs, and everything else like that. So what we were looking at is obviously something that would adapt in. That was one of our stipulations. It had to be work within that software, had to work within that framework and everything else. So when you're the sole source and you're the manufacturer, anybody else would have to purchase that meter. So there would have to be some sort of agreement that I believe that a third-party company would need to have with Neptune to be able to manage that program, purchase the material, and compete with them. So I'm not going to say that Neptune's cornered the market on it. Neptune is very popular in Eastern Ontario. They've got a very long-standing relationship and a good rapport. It's a good product from what we've seen. But as for others, it might be that since this isn't unique to our municipality, other municipalities have done this. These projects continue on. We're not the only ones. There's a queue that you step into when it comes to the supply of these meters. To see others, for the time frame that we put it out for a few weeks. But yeah, no, I didn't necessarily expect to see anybody be able to compete with what Neptune had.
Councillor McKenna?
Thanks very much. I'm supportive of the recommendation. When Neptune installs and it's done, are they out, or do they have any role in ongoing support or maintenance?
Yeah, so with Neptune, there is the support, obviously, with the technology, there's going to be a small warranty period, for these meters. I can't say exactly. That's one thing I didn't.
There's not an annual fee now
There's now there's already an annual fee for the software we use currently to be able to capture and utilize that Neptune data from the meters, but there isn't going to be any kind of increase significantly to the technology or to the cost of software that we're using right now. We already have a portion of our system as an RF system.
So if I may, so you refer to it as Neptune data. Is it our data? Who owns the data that they collect? Did they collect it all and then give it to us?
So So we have a water billing clerk who has a database with all that information. As we gather it through the readers,
Our data, we own it.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other, Mayor Panko?
Thanks, Andrew. So I know it's like $58,000 additional cost due to the tariffs imposed on raw materials by the U.S. government.
Yep. So right now, what was articulated to us is that a lot of the material for brass is purchased through China. So currently right now, through the political turmoil that we seem to be experiencing globally, tariffs are a big conversation. But one of the, we have to capture that right now because this is the current framework. This project is going to start upon your consent in 2025 and finish up in 2026. If the political landscape has changed and like Canada has softened their touch on tariffs, we may see that globally across the board. That charge may not be what it is. Now, if there was to be extra tariffs tagged on, that's a conversation that we might have to have later. But as of right now, this is what they're saying for the current framework, the current political system that we're in. This is how it is. But it may not be the case come 2026 when the final bill's signed.
58,000 obviously could change if the U.S. tariff on Chinese brass or other raw materials changes, or steel, I guess, would also be involved.
Yep.
But it could also worsen so we could have some relief next year, or it could be higher. We really don't know at this stage, obviously.
One thing I will allude to, though, is last year we saw Neptune increase their prices $25 per meter. This is a $25.10 extra charge potentially through tariffs. If we were to defer the project and come 2026, that price was to increase as well, we could be looking at $25 plus a tariff charge as well on that. So that 25 could be, in fact, be 50 come 2026. If we walk into the project now, 2025, we lock in at that pricing for 2025 and 2026 with that guarantee.
Councillor Robinson?
Thank you. Just a quick question. Because these are radio frequency units.
Yep.
How much time is that going to save staff in reading the meters?
Yeah, so in the report, what we had figured is right now, depending on obviously weather dependent, because we have to physically visit each home that has a puck on the outside. Those pucks can be located in backyards and the front yards. It's quite time consuming. Come winter operations, you know what I mean, become challenging and difficult. But what we're looking at right now is around 10 days of staff time put into meters per month per meter read. And right now, what we could look at is with these efficiencies to button it up around maybe 2 days. So one of the big things that we're looking at is it's just going to allow us to get better at what we're doing. There's always services that we can improve upon when it comes to hydrant flushing, valve turning, lead line replacements, and working with the hydrants and stuff like that. So we've got a lot of things that we can be doing, and this is going to allow us to get those extras tackled.
Thanks.
Councillor McGuire?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Do we have an idea of the number of like what does 96 days of work save, and then what 10% increased revenues on a third of the meters will bring in?
Yeah, so I was speaking with Mr. Dauber, and we looked at what we generate for revenue on. So residential water revenues based on usage was around 800,000 in 2024. So lost revenue would be around 80 to 120,000, depending on the efficacy of the meters and how much they aren't detecting low flows.
And on the staff side of it, what is there a dollar number associated with the savings there?
That's a good question. Are you referring to like?
Since we're going from 10 days to 2 days a month.
If I could answer that, if you don't mind, Andrew, through the chair, of course. It's not a matter of, I understand what you're getting at, Councillor McGuire. It's not a matter of cost savings, as I see it, as director of the department. I see it as a redistribution of staff time. So as Andrew noted, we run pretty lean on the distribution department in terms of the operations that we do out in the field. So freeing up, essentially 8 days per month of a person's time, or 96 hours a year, we can reallocate that time to other operations such as hydrant flushing, valve maintenance, valve turning, lead line replacement, all the other things that we do within the distribution system. Essentially, we're freeing up 96 hours of a person's time, right? So it's not so much in terms of dollars and cents savings on staff time. It's a matter of redistributing their time to other operations that we have going on in the field.
One of the questions you had presented when we did the 2024 water annual report was, is there places that we could still create efficiencies? Was there places that we could button down those water losses? Any hour that we can spend doing leak detection, any time that we can spend doing a repair in-house, every bit that we do is going to chip away at that non-revenue water. And I pulled up my report from 2024, and we had about 400,000 cubic meters of non-revenue water last year. That alludes to about 30% of the water that the treatment plant generated. So once we start to capture that extra flow that's being lost in these meters, we're going to chip away at that. Once we take that extra staff time that we have each month, we're going to be chipping away at that. It's our goal to continue to create efficiencies to the point we may not just have anything else that we can do. Now, I know that's not always going to be the case, that things are always going to happen, but allowing us to put more time and resources into leak detection is only going to help us be a little more fiscally responsible come each water loss report.
Great answer.
Any other questions? I'm looking for thumbs up. Got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. That was wonderful.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on, we're into payroll and human resources information, and this is with Director Albert, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Council. Speaking of time savings for staff, this report is providing some information, and staff looking to kind of leapfrog the IT strategy and the results of the IT strategy, but keeping within the results of the IT strategy that will be presented hopefully next month through the Perry Group. One of the items that looked into before we got into the IT strategy was our payroll system and our HR system. The HR system is non-existent. It's a number of different Excel files and paper copies, and the payroll system is antiquated within our Assist program that doesn't provide any sort of year-end help and is all paper and Excel based as far as input. So during the IT strategy and the interview with HR and the payroll side, Susan from the Perry Group had noted that one of the items that was lacking was a robust, efficient payroll system, and that combines with HR so that they speak to each other. So not two different systems, but one system that houses both pieces of information. So we had a bit of a conversation to say, timing-wise, if we can launch that system shortly, we could be up and running for a Jan 1 start date. I want to emphasize the council in this, and it says it in the report. If we were to wait until the end of the IT strategy, it's not detrimental. The project will still happen; it'll still go on. So there's no sort of a risk as far as timing goes. The only reason that we're coming and looking to sign the contract now ahead of the results of the IT strategy is efficiencies. If we were to have a Jan 1 start date, we just start with fresh information and just drive on. If not, we would wait. The next reasonable time to start would either be in April 1st, but more likely a July 1st because it's cleaner and tidier for a Q2 start. And then we'd manually have to bring all that information in for the first half of the year. So again, it's not detrimental to wait, but it certainly is more efficient for staff time. There is a bit of a quote there just before the budget and financial implications. In the last paragraph, just before that section, the IT strategy will speak to the need for a full HR, payroll, and HR and there's a quotation. And one of the things I didn't put down in here is that that's a quote from an email that Susan had sent over when we had our conversation. I said, can you please put something in writing? And she said, a core system is necessary for not only efficiencies, but also enable more self-serve options for staff. I've also attached payroll systems review. Perry Group has reviewed a number of different systems. The IT strategy will not recommend a specific product, but they will give us access to their high-level reports that they have provided when asked. And there is a review of the WorkZoom system that staff is recommending. We went through the process, had some demos, and then as you can see from the staff, we were actually most impressed with the WorkZoom system. It's a Canadian product. It had everything that we were looking for, and as you can see with the pricing, it's quite a bit cheaper than the others. So we are asking for the ability to have the mayor and clerk sign, because this would be a contract. We will ensure that we own the information under a contract. So we're looking for a resolution to be able to sign that contract and move forward. And as I said, if council decides that it's not the time to do that, it's not detrimental, we can still bring the project on board.
Questions, comments? Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. I actually support the recommendation. I'm a firm believer in starting at the beginning of the year for stuff. 1st of January, especially for payroll, that would make total sense to me. So as a result, I'm in favor of scope with that.
Yes. Comment?
Good.
Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just I too appreciate the thoroughness of the review by you and Terry. And you talked about will improve reporting. Will there be data generated other than just the practical stuff? Is there information that you can glean out of this that you wouldn't have had before? I mean, I know it eases the flow of data to CRA and places like that, but
yes. Exactly, and through the chair, to your point, yeah, the T4s, the historical T4s will be on there. Staff can come 5 years down the road and pull up old T4s as well as old pay slips. So the practical, yes, it will, and give us our reports as far as the TRA goes. But if we decide we become interested, well, how much overtime are we accruing? How much overtime are we incurring? I'm sorry. Right now, we can do that data. We can do that analysis, but I have to basically download the whole trial balance of the entire town and then do a bunch of formulas in Excel to be able to produce that data and maneuver it. So it's going to help us if we decide we want to know how much are we paying for part-timers, what's our average per hour, going back and reviewing, well, how much is it costing for benefits based on the as a percentage on salary. There's a number of different items that we actually can't pull up right now. Unfortunately, Assist does us well for financials, but the payroll is fairly lacking. I've used Assist before, and I know a number of other municipalities that use Assist, and most of them have gone to a third-party payroll system. Part of it is for the ease. Part of it is for people to be able to, staff to be able to put in their own timesheets and save a lot of time, but a lot of it has to do with pulling up reports and doing analysis on staffing levels.
I know I'm very supportive. I'm a big believer in getting the house in order, and this to me is like getting, I've said this before, the foundational pieces, human resources and finance are critical, and then it makes the other work that we do that the public never gets to see this, but it makes that other side of the job that much easier. So I'm very supportive. Thank you.
Councillor McGuire?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I was wondering, in the recommended shortlist, there's 5 companies, and in the votes in the table, there's 3. What was the reason the 2 were left out from the shortlist?
We did the review before we had this information from the Perry Group, and Ceridian is lacking in reporting functionality. It's a very bare bones system, and the Star Garden, a number of municipalities use Star Garden, have all one thing in common: they don't like it, and they find it very hard to difficult to deal with. So before we reached out to these 3 to have the demonstrations, our HR manager here reached out to a number of different municipalities, did a survey to find out exactly what they were using and what they liked and didn't like about it. So based on that, we chose these 3 to have the demos from.
So consensus around the table? Thumbs up.
Could I add one thing through the chair? I just want to make sure the council's aware that those costs are based on year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We don't pay an implementation fee. We need to run it to test it beforehand. So we're looking at from September to December to start adding departments. So there will be some costs in 2025. However, we've accommodated for that in the budget. We have room for that, and it'll be quite minimal compared to what our full year costs will be. So I just wanted to make sure council was aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Smith Falls Regional Recreation Complex with Director Clark, please. We're all ready to hear about all of this.
I don't normally get nervous, but you guys make me nervous about this one. So you'll see, Mayor Panko, I wore my earrings of power today as per your request. For those that are unaware, Mayor Panko made a comment that I didn't have flashy earrings on yesterday, so I'm back in full form. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Here I am back again before you. This report brings together the feasibility work that you received in the spring of this year in March, the follow-up analysis you requested, and a recommendation on a potential path forward. In short, it is my personal and professional opinion that Smith Falls deserves a modern year-round recreation facility, and that the preferred solution is New Stadia's option 1B as presented in the report. That is a new arena paired with a purpose-built multi-court field house. And for those who are unaware of what a field house is, because I've had that question a couple of times, it's essentially an indoor space for multi-sport, multi-court, could be turf, could be running track, things like that. It's purpose-built for a number of different sports and recreational activities to occur. The work to date confirms that the Class C capital range presented by New Stadia in their youth arena feasibility study is credible, and the disciplined procurement and scope control can target the lower end of that range. It also reaffirms that while school gyms remain a valued partner within the landscape and the fabric of community recreational offerings, they cannot substitute for a municipal facility that reliably serves residents during the day, supports tournaments, and meets accessibility and inclusion goals. This evening, I'm asking Council to endorse option 1B in principle, to direct staff to refine costing using a design build or similar approach with early packages and value engineering to ensure that we are holding to the lower end of that range, which I know is a bit of a sticker shock, and to engage our neighbours on a fair regional cost sharing framework while we prepare for senior government funding, sponsorship, and community fundraising. With this direction, we can move from analysis to action, protecting service continuity, improving operating sustainability, and positioning Smiths Falls as a regional leader in health, inclusion, and sport. I assume you have heaps of questions, so I would welcome them.
Questions?
Or not,
Councillor
that's fine too.
Robinson.
I might as well start it off. I'm not, I'm supportive of your recommendation to move ahead with option 1B. I don't believe school gyms can ever really take the place of a proper recreational hub because access to those spaces isn't always there when you need it. Now, having said that, I want to be clear to anybody that's listening. This project won't move forward unless we're successful with grants and unless the surrounding townships are willing to partner with us. The town simply can't take this on by itself. I do think it makes sense for staff to keep refining the numbers, start working on some high-level financial strategies, and have those conversations with our neighbors so that we can put together a fair cost-sharing plan ahead of the recreational agreement renewal in 2026. That's all I got to say on it.
Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Director Clark. I'm wondering, how much do we still owe in our existing new arena?
That is a great question. Through the chair, approximately 2.5 million with a sunset of 2036.
2036. And how much do we lose per year operating the facility?
I would reframe that. It is a community investment. We do operate at a loss, as most recreational facilities do. Our loss is currently trending somewhat upwards with additional insurance, utility costs, that sort of thing. But a recent average is around 730,000 per annum.
So I'm confused why New Stadia thinks that we'll go from losing 300,000 to 100,000 on a new facility that's bigger and better, when the existing new facility we have that's bigger and better is losing us $700,000 a year. I'm not just worried about the sticker shock on the capital costs, but the ongoing investment of this. We've spent huge amounts of money servicing the debt on the Memorial Center. There's seats in that building that have never been sat in, and I really want to make sure that there's the business case and there's the we can afford it. You know, it's one thing that we need to have it, or the community could use it, but what can we really afford? Looking at the capital pressures, looking at all the other parks and recreation priorities that we have. For me, I've got a huge sticker shock here, and I don't want to put such a debt load on future councils that other priorities such as the roads and everything else aren't going to be able to get done. So I've got that. I think it's easy for us to say, the school gyms don't count, but they were built with public money by higher levels of government in our community, and they're not being used to the extent that they could be used. And I think that since municipalities haven't been giving pressure to school boards and pressure to the provincial government to open those facilities up to the community, it's a big missed opportunity because we have all these duplication of efforts, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity to get those facilities more open. So I've got a lot of hesitations tonight. I don't see the same as when they presented the report to us. I just don't see how we're going to go from losing what amount to a smaller amount by building a new facility when we haven't seen like that. That's not the case study we've gone through with the Memorial Center. So, and then when we look at trying to get regional agreements going and cost sharing agreements that are coming up for renewal in the future, there's a big risk there. I agree that this should be a regional facility, but I also acknowledge that it's getting harder and harder to collaborate in a political context with different communities these days. So there's a lot of risk here, and I'm still on the fence with where I'm at with it.
Mayor Panko?
If I could just respond to that, is that okay? So just a couple of things. The first is that the 730,000 loss is actually, or investment rather, is combined. So we haven't separated the Memorial Community Center and the youth arena specifically. We don't account that way. So it's a combined loss. And I think that the crux of it is that the facility that we have, the new arena, the 1,500 seat facility we have right now, doesn't work without a second pad. And it doesn't work without a second pad because it's too big. We don't have enough. With one pad, if we move down to that, the risk is that we lose a lot of our opportunity for ice sales. We're already jam-packed as it is. So the purpose-built facility for ice activities is no longer used to the fullest extent. Those seats that you said, we do actually sit in at least twice a year. Every seat gets sat in, but we would not have when we test the seats, actually, is what I was getting at. But when we would not have the same sort of opportunity to have the type of activities that we have right now. So we would lose that. The second piece is that the loss that we would reduce to based on New Stadia's conversation is actually about the increase in revenue that a cheaper facility, a field house, will bring in. So it's not that we're not losing money, we're still losing it, but our revenue is going to be increased. And that's the from their best modeling, that's what their suggestion is. So there's a couple of facilities that I'm looking at right now that are trying to get some data in to see if the data testing is strong, and it looks like that at this point. But a year-round multi-use indoor recreational facility is actually the linchpin in this. If we have that additional facility, we get more people in, and we have an opportunity to actually have a lot more revenue coming in, which will offset the loss of the facilities. Then to your point about the schools, I just want to be very clear, school gyms do count. They're a very important part of our recreational infrastructure. They, however, are built specifically to enhance educational opportunities and an educational experience. They're not built to support broadly, specifically, in two same veins, the municipal infrastructure. We are not, we cannot ask, I think, school gyms to reliably give us an opportunity for all people recreationally to participate, because they could policy change tomorrow, and that's not up to us. That's a provincial educational mandate. That has nothing to do with our purview. So I think that the risk is if we rely too heavily on them, not only do we not have the capacity because the gyms functionally are not built to the standards that we could with roof height in particular, but change rooms and also just in general size. We don't have that in our community. So to ask them to do that is tenuous at best in terms of a recreational strategy. So I'm not suggesting that we do in place of, I'm suggesting that we do in tandem with. I hope you didn't lose
my
your
turn.
thought. Sorry.
Okay, well, thank you. Big decision. And I mean, it'd be a big decision, I think, tonight if we come to a conclusion and as we proceed. And put it in context, this would be the largest capital investment this town has ever made in one single piece of infrastructure. And I think we have to go back to before any of us but Councillor Quinn was here, when a decision was made to build a Memorial Community Center as it is right now, take on, I think, about $5 million of debt from that project, I think, at the time, plus the new water treatment plant was built around the same time. So within about a year, I think it was probably $14-15 million in debt that the town absorbed, and we've carried since. At a time when the tax revenue in the town is probably half of what it is today. So I think we're much better positioned to take on some debt, but to the comments that were made here already, we can't do it alone. We can't do it without upper tier funding. We can't do it without the support of our municipal partners, especially when the users of the current facility, half the users of the current facility are residents, less than half. More than half come from outside our borders. So it is a regional complex today. And we have an opportunity here to really set the needs of our community forward for the next, for multiple generations. It's not simply a generational decision, it's going to benefit multiple generations. And while the cost is deeply concerning, I think we have to realize that it's those smaller bites that will eventually eat away at that and enable us to get to where we want to be. And I think we have to begin really though with what do we want to accomplish here? And I think Director Clark has put it together fairly well in the report. The health and wellness of the long-term health and wellness of our community is really dependent on us providing the recreational amenities to support that. And we don't get into programming, but when we build it, they will come. And we see that today with minor hockey, girls hockey, Ritos hockey, Bears hockey, skating, the whole works, right? The use of the walking track. And if we take the cost of the current operating shortfall, which is an investment that we and our partners make in providing the facility to all of our citizens, it's about $500,000 in the youth arena, I think, according to the report. So it is far less efficient than a much newer, much bigger Memorial Community Center, where the shortfall is less than half of what we supplement the youth arena with every year. I would hope that a new facility would have energy efficiencies, potentially opportunity for renewable energy attached to it, which would help offset some of our costs, and potentially grants would help support that. But overall, I think the key piece in this is, as you've indicated, is the field house. And while we have people in our community who are devoted to using the ice pads, and I recognize that we can't get by with one, or we're going to have a lot of people lined up at the door. We're going to have a lot of user groups which would not be getting their ice time. That aside, we know that that's a small proportion of people of our community who actually use the ice pads. A much larger proportion would use a field house. And I recognize that schools can potentially play a role, but we also know that schools are off limit from daytime use all the time. So for the pickleball players who want to get out during the day, to the tennis players, to the basketball, badminton, the multitude of sports that could happen in a field house, the opportunity for all hours of the day, I think, would create more revenue. I also go from the numbers you indicated. I think you indicated summer usage in a field house between, I think, 15 and 25%, and I suspect that number would grow and grow considerably, especially when the challenges we see today. There's a lot of summer evenings when soccer has to be canceled because it's just too hot. And are the tennis courts being used when it's 30 plus degrees outside? Probably not. So I would hope this is a climate control facility, that we would have the ability to give people some respite and the opportunity to get in out of the heat and still enjoy the recreational activities that they enjoy doing. So it's truly an investment. And looking at the options, I do agree 1B makes the most sense over the long term. I mean, could we do a minor rehabilitation of the youth arena and simply have a second ice pad the size it is today, in the building it is today, with an expansion to create bigger dressing rooms? They're pretty tiny. I've been in there with kids before, and it's even with just 10, 15 kids in the room, it's too small. Bathrooms, there's big improvements needed in the facility no matter what. And that would give us 2 ice pads. Is it better to have 2 85 by 200 ice pads? I would think that's probably appropriate. We're going to get more usage, more tournaments, more revenue, more economic benefit to our community. And I agree, the field house is essential for the long run. We had a delegation with the Ministry of Sport last week at the AMO conference in Ottawa. And we knew it was a bit preliminary, a bit premature to be going asking for money because we're just getting this off the ground. But the parliamentary assistant who we met with was a keen listener. She really understood the merits of what we were speaking about, and how such a facility would significantly contribute to the health and wellness of our community, and have a lot of positive offsets over time, from reductions in mental health issues, reductions in health issues that our emergencies are facing, all these things that I think, because if you get the recreation, you get the connection, the human connection through activities, it's really a very positive. But in the end, she did acknowledge or indicate that be shovel ready. We know that all funding applications we see today are oversubscribed. We know that it's very, to get funding is a big thing, but a lot more people get turned down than those that are successful. And so my hope is that in advancing this project, which I think we would be doing today, we don't commit to anything until we move this forward, would be to follow a route that would enable us to make the necessary investment. And if it's a design build, I would think that probably means hiring the right developer or organization that would ultimately do a design build, having off-ramps that would lead us to a smaller solution, a smaller, cheaper solution if we don't get the grants and the support of our municipal partners in the way that we need to. But at the same time, enable us to move ahead to do the engineering design work to get us where we need to be. So in the future, when we are seeking funding from the province and the federal government, and we're going through that application-based process, we are turnkey and ready to go, shovel ready. Because if we're not shovel ready, based on the competitive landscape, I don't think we'll ever get the funding. And so the conundrum we find ourselves in is I think we need to make an investment and some degree of commitment in order to position ourselves to the grants we so much depend on to do what we ultimately want to do. So I support option 1B, and with the recognition that we have a lot of work to do with our partners to bring them on board. And looking at financing, a quick calculation tells me it's about $50,000 a year to carry $1 million of debt. $20 million of debt would be $1.2 million a year, rough numbers. And so when we look towards our partners, and if we can have half the cost covered through grants and our partners come on board, then I think that's a reasonable number we can all work with. And it can be palatable. And we recognize that when you're making an investment in something like this, long-term financing is appropriate. Yes, we're still carrying the cost of our Memorial Community Center and many other things, including the water treatment plant and fire truck and police station renovations. But as time goes by, I mean, as the community grows, our tax base grows, we're better able to manage this stuff. So if we wanted to ensure we continue to grow, we continue to attract new residents to our community, new business to our community, this is a key piece of our assets, key infrastructure that we need to make sure that we provide for our citizens and those in the broader circle. Thank you.
Any other comments? Peter?
I hate calling him the mayor. He's so articulate. A couple of just short questions, and then I won't get into as much as the mayor has, but just the Class C is really what you're asking for, the estimate. It's one of the things we want to get to. What time frame, if you get approval tonight, when could we see Class C cost estimate?
So that's a good question. So I think we are sort of already there. What we need to do if we want to refine that further is get a design in place. And so that, I think there's a few more pieces that we need before we can actually commit to that. So as Mayor Panko mentioned, one of the things, looking at a design build with a guaranteed maximum price or something is an opportunity for us to control costs. But, I would hate to say, let's do a design build because then we're now committed to the design and build. There are different methods though we could use in that. So there's a progressive design build, which could be, a couple $100,000 for a design. And we could, escalate it from there if we got the funding in place. And so there's some procurement tricks that we could, not tricks in a negative way, but procurement processes that we could look at that would allow us to have the design ready so that we could get a better costing for it. So that doesn't answer your question, but I would take it back to Ed and Nick at New Stadia, who are supporting us through this as well, to get a clarification on that. But this is also, I think this is one of those things where we need to be conscious that this is not a tomorrow project. We're not going to be shovel ready for January 1st. I know you really like things to begin on the new year, but unfortunately your New Year's resolution about this might have to wait a few years. This is not going to be a fast process. This is, I think we're buckling up for a couple of years in terms of, and I don't know what that would look like, but the runway is not so long that we don't need to make a decision, but we need to be ready to understand that it's not going to be next month or next year that we're really going to be digging in the ground. So
I could keep going with the why we're doing this. Consultants laid out a fairly legitimate rationale. I would describe the consultations we did with the user groups as passive, like we reached out and said, comment on this. What's missing for me, and I think will be required going forward, other than pickleball and the Seniors Activity Center, we've had no active groups coming before us saying we really need these kind of amenities and services. Pickleball has been very adamant, and that's good because then I keep that in my mind. And the Senior Center did the same thing. They said we need more space, we're growing, we need a different setup. So the why was there. Getting to the when you've touched on the how is more important to me. For me, the how, I think having our director try to spearhead this won't work. I think we need a coalition of key partners with a champion. Because unless I hear and unless those user groups get fired up and get behind this, I don't believe it will go ahead. It might go ahead in Smith Falls, but it won't go ahead in Montague or Rideau Lakes or Drummond North Elmsley. So unless those users somehow get engaged and vocal, active in their own communities, active and getting on board, this is one of the hardest initiatives. The other ones were within our control. We built the arena, we built the water. This is very much a regional, and how we do it is more important than anything. Otherwise, it won't succeed. You can't be all of that, and you shouldn't. So the challenge, if anybody's listening out there, is it's time to organize and get behind this, because unless your neighboring municipalities hear it, or unless our municipality hears it, I don't see it succeeding. The last point is that within a couple of months, council will receive a report from our climate action work group, where we're going to be looking at corporate emissions and then the broader Smith Falls emissions and our impacts on climate. And we aren't using a climate lens yet in our big decisions, but I would like to think that it has a significant opportunity to look at our current climate impact and our footprint, and we aren't very efficient. And a project like this, I wouldn't support unless we tagged on what are we currently doing? What's the impact? We've looked at the investments that taxpayers putting into this, but what's the impact on the environment? And I'd like to understand that better as we go further along. I don't expect that tonight, but you're going to hear in the report that our facilities are in pretty good shape. The youth arena is not, and the old plant is not. And so we've got to improve the impact on the environment. All that to say, it's going to require a lot of strategy and champions beyond this table right here. So I'm ready to move to the next step, which is what you're asking, with all those caveats that we've already talked about. So I won't get into that. Understanding the costs and the impact on the environment and the need for a broad coalition of support beyond this council. Otherwise, its success is questionable. Thank you.
Any other comments, anyone? I'm going to jump in here just for a moment. Peter hit on something, Councillor McKenna hit on something that I think is very important, and that's selling the fact that it's going to be much more efficient, and we're looking at the climate and how we build so that we're not going against our climate change, that we're improving things there. And that could be a really good way maybe to reach out to the municipalities. This is what we want to do. We need everyone on board. We need your opinion, and let them feel like, yes, we're open here to listen to what they have to say. Yes, we want to make good decisions. Yes, we want this building to be something that is going to last all of us for many, 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 many years. And yes, I was around when we built the other arena, and believe me, we had all kinds of complaints. And why would we put a walking track in? Nobody's going to walk up there. It's going to be too cold. That walking track is used on a regular basis by many people. The arena, people have gone there and they've realized now we have a state-of-the-art arena, and they're so proud to be there and to be using it and to be part of it. So I think this is part of what we have to do to sell to the outlying municipalities, that we are building a state-of-the-art facility for everyone to use, and we want them on board and we want their input. I think it's a big price tag, but the town is growing. Look at how much the town has grown in the last 15 years, and it's going to continue to grow. The town of Smith Falls is on the map. People realize we're here, and that's very important, and what we build needs to be positive, and we'll be able to move forward into the future. So I'm supporting you on this. Yes.
So if I could, just a couple of comments. The first, I think, Councillor McKenna, absolutely, not the least of which, chasing funding, it's a lot of it is tied up in a climate lens. And so I think we need to make sure that we're really structuring any builds, again, because it's the right thing to do, but also because we have a better chance of getting some funding for a build specifically. For that, and it'll inform the design and hopefully, put us in the running for that funding. I think the other piece is while you haven't heard from a number of groups, I think one of the beautiful things about a field house, and I grew up in a community that had a field house, and it was there's an opportunity for organic recreational activity, and I understand that the recreation today is very different than when I was 15 years old, which seems like a long time ago, but we're in a space where we may not see those groups come together in the same way, because what this allows us to do is create space for people who don't have a connection to an organization or an organized group. Often when you organize, it comes out of reach for so many people. They can't get there, they can't pay the fees, and so it becomes much more burdensome for folks to participate in recreational activities. And part of, I think, the role of the municipality is to create space where you don't have to be organized. Drop in pickleball, drop in basketball, whatever it might be. We will not see those people coming towards before council. I think we also have an obligation as a community to step up and speak on behalf of those people. And my hope is that there are those out there that will be able to do that and be the advocate for those folks, because I hear a lot of, there's nothing to do. There is a lot to do. We just need to make sure we have the space for it. If you create space where people find meaning and belonging, they can change their lives in a positive way. We can reach people who are engaged and connected, and we're challenging all of those pieces around health-based outcomes, mental health, all of those types of things. One of the great social connectors is recreation. One of the things that gets you out of poverty is recreation and social connection. Those are things that they're not necessarily go hand in hand, but it's part of the bigger social fabric that we're trying to, I think, engage more broadly as a municipality to set us up for success moving into the next 50 years. So my hope is that we think about that when we talk about the activism and having groups come forward. We're not going to see those people. I'm not going to see a group of 13-year-old boys here, but I do see them down at the basketball court in 40 degree heat and trying, to make something work and build connection. So I think that's really important. I don't take offense that I can't do this alone. I don't want to. I think this only works with our partners. And just something I had a conversation with my parents this weekend. They reminded me that I do like to overcomplicate things. So I like to make a complicated project. So I bring that forward with great joy.
CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I think Councillor McKenna raises a really good point. I think there seems to be consensus around the horseshoe that we can't do this alone, and I would agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment. So perhaps a way to distribute the load and get more people into the tent, as it were, would be to come back with a recommendation on maybe a steering committee, probably a working committee to shepherd the project forward, where we could invite, stakeholders in the community and quite possibly our municipal neighbors onto that group, so that we can get a focused group of people that can champion. I think there may be room for a champion or maybe two champions to kind of lead it, not unlike a fundraising campaign, because fundraising will be an important, community fundraising will be an element of the financial strategy. So if committee thought it wise, I would suggest directing staff to come back with a recommendation about a broad steering group with broad representation working group recommendation. We can do that fairly quickly. Bring that back and then empower that group to shepherd the process.
Comment?
Absolutely.
That sounds like a great idea. Yes. So we have nodding heads on this? Yes? Yes.
So, Madam Chair, further to that, I don't think that piece, which is more the process and the leadership, necessarily stops moving forward with the recommendation this evening. The recommendation in front of you is fairly low risk and low cost at this point. But I think the mayor brought up a really important point. We need to perhaps modify the gateways that have been identified in the decision narrative document appended to your report. There are 5 gateways, and when we reach each of those gateways, we can pivot, we can stop, or we can, what's the other one? We can change course or alter. So I think it's important that we get to a point, and we heard this loud and clear at the delegation last week. We had great interest, really quite enthusiastic about what we were offering. They just needed more meat on the bone. And I can share with the committee and the community, we did apply for a funding program, $10 million. We were not successful. Not surprised by that because we don't have a shovel-ready project. But what it did accomplish, it got us in the queue and got us on the radar. So I think it was successful even though we didn't get a nickel. But it lays the framework and the groundwork for the next application that will be more powerful and impactful, and I certainly hope successful. So clearly we need a more shovel-ready project before we can come back to that minister or others. And I shout out to our MPP, John Jordan. He helped us along with the process. He's willing to help orchestrate a meeting, perhaps a multi-ministerial meeting where we can talk about not just the recreation and the sport implications and outcomes, but also the health outcomes and the infrastructure outcomes and the economic development outcomes that go along with a project of this size and magnitude. So I think we have a compelling story. We just need to put it on paper. And so going back to the mayor's comment, we need to find an avenue or a pathway to get an early indication of cost. So one thing we're looking into right now is, can we decouple the design build and stitch them back together if we like the design and the cost estimate that comes out of that design. So I think we can come back once we do a little bit of research on that, and it's underway already. We don't have that ready this evening because we expected this discussion to take 1 or 2 meetings. This is a big decision. We're not looking for a decision tonight, but we just want to make sure we're going in the right direction and we start to set the table for the next step and the next step and the next step. This is a risk management exercise, pure and simple. We'll have a really nice facility if it happens, but it's managing risk along the way. And so I think we've got good advice on how to manage the risk. We've got really good advice on how to avoid scope creep and budget creep. So we need some fixed costing with the maximum amount. So that's all in the documents that we've provided to you. But I think the sooner we can refine the cost through the design portion of a design build engagement, and the sooner we can get out to our neighbors, the sooner we can get in front of the ministries to stitch together the funding we need to make this work. So I think the recommendation that Director Clark has brought forward is still very valid. We would like to get your direction to proceed. And at this point, it's still a fairly low risk endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thumbs up. We have thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. Moving forward. Director Dauber, back again, please. Affordable housing subclass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this report isn't looking for a resolution at this point. It really is to bring some information and start some discussion. Ontario Regulation 14024 came into effect last year in 2024, bringing in the idea of a new multi-residential tax reduction. There was a update to that through Ontario Regulation 7325, which directed MPAC to actually create an optional multi-residential tax subclass for affordable housing. It's for upper tiers and single tiers to make a decision as to whether they want to opt in for the upper tiers. The lower tiers follow suit, as it is like when tax ratios are changed. It's the same kind of a process. There's information in there to do with the specifications, the requirements of what that affordable subclass looks like. It can be brought in at any time. There's not a rush for it. However, if council wished to opt into it for 2026, MPAC would need to know by September 30th in order to create that subclass and bring it into the roll. Once a municipality opts into it, they can't opt out. So it's a one-way project. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to take up too much time on council. But I did want to present the options. I know I was able to lucky enough to sit in on a meeting with Leonard County as they were looking at it. And I'm not sure if the report's come or it's coming at the county level with a staff recommendation to move forward with it. So I was able to get a little bit more details and find out exactly what's going to be happening with the partners around us. But I guess the important parts are that OREG 14024 introduced a new reduction. 7325 creates a class and amends it. The old one was the new builds only. The new one is new and existing. So if for some reason council wanted to opt in, then existing buildings would also become a part of that tax subclass. Eligibility, the old was during the building permit timing. And for the new, it would be affordability criteria and legal obligations. So MPAC is putting together a way to basically go through the properties that might qualify for that. And every year in December, MPAC gives an update to the current value assessment. And if Smith Falls were to opt into that, it would come through that roll, current value assessment roll that gets loaded into the system in December. I did provide a little bit of financial information on that. I did look at a few different percentages because it's 35%. And what that is up to 35%. So it's not locked in at 35%, but municipalities can choose what they are. I wanted to get the ball rolling, so I threw in some fairly basic numbers. I can come back with a much more detailed analysis of what different amounts would result in, because of the fact that any new tax class shifts the taxes around. So if there's a reduction, it means all the other classes pick up the slack because when we set the tax rate after the budget is passed, we say this is how much we need to raise, and it's the current value assessment is divided into it as part of the calculation to decide what the tax rate would be. So when you have one that lowers that rate down, then the others pick up the slack, and there's a little bit of a tax shift and therefore a dollar value put on that. I put one number in there, but I would ask council to please be aware that as I did analysis on 35, 25, 15, 10, and 5 on the back end, the rates that are in there, say 35%, by accident I put the 25% in there. So when it's $13.20 per 100,000 of assessment of an increase to residential, that's at the 25%. And apologies, but the 35% would actually be $18.70 per 100,000. The average in 25 for that one average residential house, current value assessment of 175,652. 2320 would be the increase for that house, which is the correct number at 25%. At 35% would be $32.80. And I did throw a little bit of information on for the commercial as well. The reason that I only put a little bit of information is I really wanted to come back and find out, provoke a discussion, find out if council's interested. We have a couple of more meetings before the deadline in order to bring it in for 2026 if council wished. So I can bring more information back on September the 8th and a much more robust analysis. But I would, at this point, I would turn it over to council for some feedback and decision as to whether we continue to proceed, and I come back with another report.
Mayor Panko.
Yeah, thanks, Director Delver. Well, your work was good to identify that we've already done something like this for the Caribridge Bill at 44 Chambers. We use our CIP and we're providing significant tax relief, far more than 35%, almost 100%, I guess, in that situation, for 10 years for the project that was completed there. And that was a decision that both councils, this one and the previous one, I guess, agreed to when it came to providing the kind of relief. And that tool is still in our toolbox. So if there's future bills in our community that are affordable, rent carried to income, we can leverage that toolbox, so each council can make that decision at that time. Bringing this into place today binds all future councils to provide this relief to properties that qualify. And that's something that gives me some degree of reluctance, even though I'm very supportive of affordable housing. And going retroactive, I mean, I know that it's Leonard County that owns the vast majority of the affordable rent carried to income units in our community. I think there's about 292 units, I believe it is, altogether. Not all will be covered through this. It's just a multi-residential over 6 units and up, I believe.
It would, so 7 and up.
7 and up. So it doesn't affect all the properties, but certainly the vast majority. And just using the math you had, I'm thinking the combined taxes payable in a year somewhere around north of $400,000, which, as you've indicated here, to replace that means everybody else has to pay. And these are citizens in our community. These are citizens that enjoy the same benefits as every other citizen, from garbage pickup to policing, all protective services, to all recreational services. So I think there's everyone's contributing through their rent or through their direct payment of the owner property. But in this situation, these people are paying rent, the county is providing housing, and we're providing services to all these people. And so I'd be very reluctant to provide relief in this situation, which ultimately would save the county money, which would then probably get passed on to all the county partners. Which would be all the municipalities that are part of the county. Not all of them are hosting Leonard County housing within their community either. But a lot of their citizens eventually end up in their communities because when they qualify for rent carried to income housing. So we are accommodating, providing services in a great and respectful way. But I don't see the benefit to us necessarily, especially when we already have the CIP, which this council and future councils can use to provide incentives for the development of affordable housing. So I'm fine with the report tonight. I don't see any need for us to go any further.
Councilor Maguire?
Yeah, I share the mayor's concerns, and I guess if all the municipalities of the county were passing a similar bylaw, and as a partner, if it would be fair to go through with it, then maybe it could come up again. But for now, I think the CIP is the better tool.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. And I agree with Councilor McGuire and the mayor.
Councilor McKenna?
Well, thank you. I was more open to it initially, because I'm always looking for jewels, hearing the mayor creating that scenario, we have a significant public housing stock here. And you're right that savings back to the county, everybody would benefit in the county, but our ratepayers and renters would end up paying a disproportionate, unless there was some way to adjust the weight assessment for us with the county. So that, I'd like to ponder it and have that conversation with the county on what it has, as far as I'm assuming it would come to community services or corporate services.
2 weeks from now.
And that'd be a couple of weeks from now. Wouldn't mind having more conversation with them, maybe even phoning the director there or something. That's interesting.
Other comments? I listened to the mayor and I listened to what you have to say, and I think maybe we just sit for a little bit. It's still there. Doesn't mean we're saying absolutely no. Maybe more information can come forward and we would feel better about this, but let's just not jump too fast. Does that sound agreeable to everyone? Thank you.
Thank you.
No, don't go away. Sorry, can't.
Just before we leave that one, if I could, Director Devery, like you brought it for, I would have never known about it if you hadn't brought it forward. So thanks for doing that. You brought it forward because you knew we should, that's your job, right? To bring these things forward. But did you also think that there was some, do you have another side of this that I'm not seeing? There's some merit to this that you're going to walk away disappointed tonight because we.
Through the chair, no.
You're neutral.
I'm neutral.
All right, thanks. Because if you had an opinion, I'm all ears. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on with June 2025 budget monitor. And this is again.
We can't pull anything up tonight, sorry.
Okay.
I'm with the system, so.
So I just want to kind of run through where we're at the end of Q2. I'm going to have to, council will have to rely on the agenda that was sent out, as we unfortunately can't bring it up on the screen right now. But I just wanted to have a quick run through. First of all, starting off with what I always ended off with before, I didn't see anything in the system that caused me any concern, and feel that we're moving along and spending the tax dollars and our funds in an appropriate manner. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go line by line as I have before and just give a little bit of a commentary, if that's okay. Property taxes, we're at 98% of the revenues collected. As per usual, those revenues are acknowledged when the tax bills are sent out. So therefore, we're almost the full year's revenues, and I've adjusted that further down to show where we're at currently as far as a surplus. Payments in lieu, we're at 19%. The billings have since gone out. So when we come back, I'm going to be coming back on, my plan is hopefully to come back on September the 8th with the Julys, and then again for August towards the end of September. And that number should change drastically. Operating grants and provincial offenses, we're at 49%, so we're on track. The biggest portion of that being the OMPF funding. As far as the expenses go, mayor and council's at 45%. And again, sorry, I forgot to mention. So of course, July 30th, as council would be aware, but just for the public at home, that's halfway through the year. So what we're comparing it to, our benchmark is 50% of the way through the year. And that's the comparison that we're drawing here. So mayor and council at 45%, I don't see any concerns there. There's a couple of lines that generally don't get used too much in the beginning of the year, and we should look at those catching up later in the year. A couple underutilized, and when I say underutilized, I don't mean that we're not going to be using them and we're just not doing the work. A lot of times there's a timing issue of when those happen. Community programs at 84% of the way through the year, which is kind of standard because the Railway Museum and the hospital contributions have been sent out fully at the 100% mark. And then we have a few other contributions that will be going out in Q3 and then Q4 to bring that up to 100%. Shared services, of course, we get equal billing. Most of that going to the county, so we're on track with that. Administration, 51%, just a hair over 50%, and I feel that we're on track with administration. IT services a little underutilized at only 38%. Computer maintenance and training are underutilized. That will be coming up as we've started accessing that training in order to come up to speed on a lot of the network training to be capable to manage the systems in better ways going forward. And knock on wood, the computers have been behaving quite well, so we'll hope that trend continues.
Councillor McKenna?
Do you want questions as we go, or?
Absolutely.
So if I may, Madam Chair, just on the IT service, I brought this up before. So if I was looking at our budget of 427,000, if I wanted to know the percentage of the overall, would I take that to the 21 million or the 25 million? If I wanted to know what percentage, and I brought this up during our IT strategic review with the consultants. Are we spending enough? Is that percentage? You know, I don't need to know the percentage.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just, is it of the total property taxes, or is it the total corporate revenues? If I was,
I think we'll have that answer shortly, but it's a little bit premature tonight to give those answers. But I believe we'll be fleshing that out when the presentation for the IT strategy comes forward.
Thanks.
Library is at 44%. There's a number of small items that lines that are underutilized as of June 30th that we're anticipating to see increase in the second half of the year. Transfers to capital, of course, are right on track because that's just a regular amount that we transfer over in the financial system on a quarterly basis. Police services, just a hair under 47%, no concerns there. Fire services at 40%. Equipment repairs and communications are underutilized as of June. However, I know that there has been some work done on the radio and some upgrades to that, so we should see that change slightly going forward. Bylaw, 43%. Everything is pretty much on track, but that amount that we had budgeted in 2025 for animal contract hasn't been used yet. Community services. Overall community services is at 37%. Administration is at 40%. It's on track. There's a few lines that are underutilized as of June 30th, and the same with parks. One of the big items in the parks that hasn't been used as of June 30th has to do with shrubbery, and there's a large dollar value that goes into that. Although the work has been done now, again, this is going back to June 30th, so we should see that increase and that percentage increase in the next couple of budget monitors coming forward. Community facilities is at 66%. There's revenue timing in there, as well as a couple of the expenses that come in heavier on the first half than the second half. Hillcrest Cemetery is at 39%, so equipment, property, and monument repairs to date have been underutilized. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the monuments get more work done in the summer than the spring. Crossing guards at 63%. Which is on track because it's 10 months of the year. We see expenses there, and January through June is 6/10 of the year's expenses. Sorry, I skipped over daycare. It's a positive revenue number. We've received the grants in up front, so there's more coming in grants than expenses are going out. However, we've received them. They've been front-ended, a lot of them, so we'll see that change as we go towards the end of the year and more expenses are incurred. My apologies for skipping over that. Special events at 48%, and that is on track at this point. Economic development and tourism overall is at 29% of the way through the year. Economic development, 46%. So a few things like membership fees, corporate communication, and legal lines are underutilized. We always like it when the legal lines are underutilized. We like them to stay that way if possible. The membership fees and some of the corporate communication, they come in later in the year. I believe the membership fees come in the last quarter on a yearly basis. Tourism, the visitor center, and operations and public arts initiatives have been utilized as heavily in the first half of the year, leaving them at 44%. Small Business Advisory Center is another one where we have higher revenues than expenses at this point. Our deputy treasurer has helped them to get back on track has helped them catch up with all of the reporting to the ministry and is catching up on that. So what we see is more revenues coming in the year, and we should see that level out as we get through the year and more expenses come along. A Heritage Museum is perfectly right on track at 50%. And Downtown Business Association, as per previous years, and like the municipal tax, that's received and revenues recognized in one shot right up front. So I do adjust that later on. Leaving us at 29% for that area overall. Development services are at 51%, planning's at 40%. The CIP expenses, the work has gone forward, and we're waiting for the claims to come in, which is the main driver to keep that at 40%, 50% of the way through the year. Conservation authorities, 100%. We've paid the money to the Conservation Authority that's owing to them, and I don't, at this point, unless something else changes, I don't see any more expenses coming in. And building and inspection, there is an amount of $20,632 more of expenses than revenues at this point. Part of it is due to timing of the revenues coming in, and we'll keep council updated as that develops. Public Works overall is 42% of the expenses. Public Works itself, which would be the roadside, is 45%, and it tends to, and that's normal at this time of the year because more work tends to get done through the summer. There's a lot of bigger ticket items that happen in the summer. Engineering at 52% is on track. Environmental services at 29%. I'm sorry, I actually had that line just disappeared on me. I had a little bit more information on that. That somehow got compressed and squeezed out of there in my Excel sheet. I apologize for that. I'll open it up and come back to that if council's okay with that. And utilities. Utilities is another one where it always seems a little bit odd because of the fact that the revenues, the timing of the revenues is so far behind what the expenses are. Bills are run at the end of the...
Where are you now?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm at utilities. My apologies. Right below Public Works.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
No problem. So right now, expenses in water and distribution are more than what the budget is, and that really comes down to the timing of the revenues. Because of the billing cycle and the timing that it takes to bill and the lead time for residents to be able to pay those bills, we're always a little bit behind. And what that means is 50% of the way through the year, after all the expenses to operate the department, we've only recognized 38% of the revenues. So there is a disproportionate amount of revenues compared to expenses at this time. As we run through it, and I actually had a lengthy meeting with Mr. McNaughton and Director McMunn to go through the lines and make sure that we're on track. We went through the lines and had a good analysis and feel that we're on track to be successful in what we have budgeted for that. 55% is the wastewater treatment. 39% of the revenues have been recognized. It sounds funny to say this, but there's a number of expenses of maintenance items that still have to be done, which is why there's a disproportion between the water and the wastewater. So there'll be more expenses coming, and then the revenues should catch up to that. The operating surplus, if you just took it literally, would say we're going to come out with this incredibly large surplus, which is not true because of the fact that 65% of our revenues come from the municipal taxes, and we have recognized a full year's revenues halfway through the year. So when we adjust that to reflect 6 months, and when we adjust the DBA to reflect the 6 months, we end up coming out with what looks to be a much smaller, tidy surplus. So that would indicate that we're heading on a good track, and staff are managing the budget lines. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Councillor McGann.
Once again, thank you for these regular updates. I find them reassuring, and I'm sure the public does as well. So thank you for that. Where does public health and our shared services agreement with Lanark County show up?
I believe that shows up under the shared services.
Okay.
Which would be just under the mayor and council line.
All right. Oh, I see it. Thank you.
No problem.
Other questions? Comments?
Oh, that's great.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. Community improvement plan for intake.
Madam Chair, I can take this one tonight. I'm going to pinch hit for Mr. Granke. He's away on vacation.
Perfect, thank you.
So as council will know, undoubtedly, we have 2 intakes for the CIP program. One is in late winter, early spring. It closes on March 31st. And then if we have monies remaining in the budget, we have a fall intake. We had not planned on a robust fall intake because we were predicting we would only have 3,600 approximately available. So we didn't necessarily promote it, but just recently, in fact, 2 weeks ago, a project did not proceed, which freed up $10,000. The budget, by the way, is just north of $150,000 for this project. So it was, we had robust subscriptions in the first intake, but now we have about 13,500 remaining. So we think that's worthy of a fall intake. Our policy suggests the fall intake has to close on September 1st. Because of this new information, we're asking you to extend it to September 30th, and we will process them from that point forward.
Thank you. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Madam Chair. The last intake we went through was, in my opinion, the worst intake we've had in 10 years. The way the applications have been processed, and even the we've never had one that's gone back like this, where it's come to council and the funding's been rescinded. So I think what I want to see is the revisions to the policy that were promised and are coming after the last round. I'm not really interested in going through that process again and spending more money on it. And I think this would be a great opportunity to put the funds into reserves or fund a line item of the budget that's in deficit. Because I've got no interest in going through that process again in the fall.
Comments?
Is there indication that there are, were there more applications previously that we weren't able to fund, or?
There were several through the chair that did not qualify. So we don't, to my knowledge, have any in the queue.
Okay.
But our staff understand there is interest within the community. For us, we could probably accommodate a couple of small projects or perhaps one medium-sized project.
And the September 30th is the deadline to apply.
Correct. So I can say the review and ranking process will be much more streamlined because of the smaller pot of money compared to the spring intake, which was much, much bigger.
Mayor Panko.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the comments of my colleague. And I do believe it's something it's always evolved. We're always trying to improve how we're going to do this. And there's been some missteps along the way. But I think the review and some of the changes are probably coming forward later in the year, I presume. And I wouldn't want to take away an opportunity for someone to take advantage of the small amount we have here right now. I think there's an opportunity to do some good with this. And so I will support the recommendation as that we consider applications with the deadline September 30th.
Other comments? Councillor Robinson?
Thank you. Just a quick question. For the spring intake or summer, whatever it is, is the process itself going to be revamped to eliminate the problems that we had during the last intake? Because I know we have a vision, we have a policy, but I'm just wondering how strongly it's being enforced. You know, I would much rather turn people down because it didn't meet our policy rather than having it come back the way it has in the past. So it's just a question.
Yeah, through the chair, great question. My assessment is that the policy is reasonably good. It was our application of the policy that needs to change. So Mr. Grenke and I have had that discussion. He's working on that. And I would say we're going to be much more focused and more of a gatekeeper role in the future. And I'm confident we can apply that different approach on this intake that we'll bring forward to you sometime in October.
Okay.
Around the table? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
So I think it's important to note too that if we do it on the 30th of September, it's unlikely we're going to get a report back by the 7th. So it's probably the 13th of October. It comes to committee council. The window on the construction season is up pretty much closed by that point. But I think going back to the policy and process side of it, before we've made those, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but as it goes in the last intake, we didn't follow the processes and policies that we've approved. We're not even breaking down the cost of the applications. There'll be an accessibility application that the scope of it's way outside of what the accessibility improvements are, and we're not looking at those numbers and saying what percentage is the accessibility improvement, what percentage is not related to it and just being grouped into it. So there's foundational issues with the way this went. I don't think it was pleasant for the applicants in the last round, especially the one that, you know, we had to withhold the funding after the work was completed. And I just don't see, without those processes changes coming to committee first, we don't have the tools in place and we don't have the reform in place to make sure that this program's back on track. So as to why we'd ask businesses to come to us, ask for our money when we don't have our house in order from the last time, it seems like a lot of staff time is going to go into this. There's the opportunity to create unpleasant situations like happened in the last intake, and I just don't see the value where we've got a tight budget, we've got a tight fiscal situation. I think the money can be put into reserves or better spent elsewhere this year, and next year we can fund the program with a reformed process and the criteria and expectations, and hopefully it'll move forward much smoother. But we did fund the vast majority of the funding that was allocated to it. 80-90% of the funding has been allocated, and I don't see this as being worth the time and effort it's going to take to go through the fall intake.
So around the table, who is in agreement with we move it to September the 30th?
I'm fine with that.
Peter, you're fine with that?
No, I'll go with Councilor McGuire's suggestion.
Okay.
I think I am too, based on his statement that by the time it gets approved through council, it's virtually past the available season to do outdoor work.
Well, I was gonna say, there's a lot of interior improvements could be done or accessibility improvements could be done.
But that, like, I don't know, it's worthwhile for $13,000, but, you know, how much time and effort is going to have to go into the review process by staff for a very small amount of money in a very short window. So I'm going to say no. I'm not in favor of going ahead.
Mayor Panko, you have something else? Or did you have something else to add?
No, I'm fine.
So we have 3 that are definitely saying no. And you, yes, please.
So just to remind, the window is still open. So we could still get applications by September 1st, which we would be obliged to process.
That's fine.
Clearly, the likelihood of getting more applications will be better if we extend it. So we may still be processing applications. And I'm confident we can look at those applications through a different lens based on the discussion we had. In terms of the timing, true statement, I think it kind of rubs up against colder weather, but as the mayor indicated, there are interior projects. It doesn't have to be spent in the fiscal year. It could position those projects to launch early in the spring next year before the others launch. So I think the investment can be put into the pipeline. Whether it's built before winter arrives is, I don't know if we should be too concerned about that. It'll be built eventually.
We have a decision to make here, a dilemma. Yes, Councillor McGuire.
I think for me, I'm really questioning whether we even fund this in 2026, depending on how the reforms come forward and how the process amendments work, because it's a program that's really, it's costing the municipality millions when we take into the tax abatement aspects of it too. And it's just not working as it stands. So yeah, for this term, if applications come in before the 1st, that's great. But I think that's the commitment we made at the budget time. And I'm really looking forward to getting into the policy more before next year's intake.
Councillor McKenna.
And my support for not extending it to September 30th has nothing to do with my support for the program. I'm very supportive of the program. If you know it, can always improve it. I'm fine with that, but I just don't want that. It's a little different than what Councillor Breyer suggested. I'm very supportive of this program.
So I think you're hearing that you have till September the 1st, and then we revamp everything. We come back with a whole new set of how we do this and make things easier.
Yes, so that's we can certainly follow that direction, but I would just state that if we get an application or 2, we're coming back anyway.
Yeah.
And that's,
but it'll be for $3,600.
That's fine.
Correct?
Yeah, it's open till then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I understood.
Okay.
But we could open it up to 13.6. We have the money available.
Right. But without extending.
So the budget's there. All we're talking about is, are we extending the deadline? The program still exists in its current form. If we don't get applications, you won't hear from us until we bring back the policy amendments. If we do get applications, we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Councillor Robinson.
I wasn't trying to insinuate that I didn't think $13,900 was not going to be used. I just didn't want to extend to the 31st. So if we get 7 applications in the next week, or yeah, basically this week, great. But I'm not in favor of extending it.
Well, that money's in that pot anyways. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
So
good.
we'll close it down on September 1st as we had originally planned.
Perfect.
Great, thank you.
Okay, moving forward, I don't see anything else that we have to deal with except a recommended motion that the committee adjourns its proceedings at 7:01 and stands so adjourned until the next duly called committee meeting. All in favor?
Move by.
Oh,
Move.
moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McGuire. You gotta train me again here. All in favor? We're adjourned. Good night, everyone.